Hello and welcome back to my summer series. Today it's the final episode and I'm making my stone fruit and frangipane tart. It's the end of summer now and I think this is a great transitional recipe because you can use whatever fruit are in season. So right now I'm using the last of the stone fruit, but you can also replace them with figs or pears or whatever you have available. The pastry is actually incredibly easy to make. This recipe is my mum's famous shortcrust and it's fail-proof. You start off by mixing together the flour and the butter using your fingers until you get a breadcrumb-like consistency. Then you want to add some sugar and a little pinch of salt and mix that in with a butter knife. And then add in some ice cold water. It's really important that it's ice cold to keep the butter as cold as possible to get that nice short consistency. And you want to mix the pastry in with the water. Don't over mix it too much, you just want it to come together in your hands, and then put it in some cling film and leave it in the fridge for at least an hour. Now we move on to our frangipane. When you get the hang of it, frangipane is actually really easy to make and doesn't take that long. It just requires a lot of washing up, so be prepared. But you want to start by making a crème pâte, leaving that to cool down, and then we're going to mix that in with an almond cream. So for the crème pâte, you want to boil some milk with some vanilla, half a vanilla pod or vanilla essence, whatever vanilla you have, and leave that to boil. In the meantime, cream together an egg yolk and some sugar. This means you want to whisk it together until the yolks turn white and fluffy. Then whisk in the flour 1 tablespoon at a time to make sure you don't get any lumps. Once the milk has come to the boil, it's ready to add to our mixture. You want to start off by just adding a little bit, whisk it in, and then you can add the rest. That mixture then goes back into our saucepan on a low heat, and you want to leave it on that low heat, stirring continuously with a spatula to avoid the eggs curdling until the whole mix starts to thicken. It should be thick enough that when you scrape a bit off your spatula, the rest doesn't keep running down. That's when you can take it off the heat into a bowl and leave to cool. Prop a bit of cling film on top, touching the crème pâte to avoid it forming a film while it's cooling down. Now for the almond cream, we want to cream together some softened butter and icing sugar, sort of like basically just making a buttercream. Then we can add in our ground almonds and again just cream together with a spatula until it's nice and smooth. This is a super easy recipe because it's equal parts butter, icing sugar and ground almonds. Then to make it into a frangipane, we add our cooled down crème pâtissière. Add 1 egg and beat in with a spatula to combine, or a whisk if the spatula just isn't cutting it. Then, as per tradition, I like to add in 1 teaspoon of Rhum to enhance the almond flavour, but this is completely optional. Then, time for fruit prep. So, just need to de-stone our fruit, and I like to keep them in halves so that you get nice little jammy pockets in the tart. But depending on the fruit size, obviously, maybe quarter them or keep them whole, whatever you fancy. Now the pastry's been in the fridge for about an hour, so it's firmed up a bit and ready to roll out. I'm going for a galette here because it's more rustic, takes a lot less faff and time, and I like how the pastry kind of melds in with the frangipane. But warning, this does look rustic, so if you want to go for a bit more of a fancy, pristine look, then you might want to stick with a tart and a mould. Anyway, for the galette, I'm just rolling it out into kind of 1/2 centimeter thin pastry, as big as it gets and as rough an oval / circle as I can get. Then a thick layer of Frangipane on top of my pastry, and I start placing my fruit. I'm going for apricots and plum and alternating them so I get a nice colour pattern, but really you can do whatever you want. Then to make it into a galette, I just need to seal off my Frangipane and fruit. You'll notice, forgot to mention, I've left about a 1-inch piece of pastry around the rim that isn't covered in any Frangipane or fruit, and I'm just going to flip that up on top to seal it all together. Now it's ready to go into the oven at 180 degrees for 30 minutes until it's all nicely golden brown. I warned you, this does look rustic, but it tastes so delicious. The buttery, crumbly pastry, the nice, soft, creamy Frangipane, and those jammy, sour fruit. It's delicious, but as I said, feel free to mix up the fruit, mix up the shapes, do whatever you want. World of tarts out there.